Okay, so for our next story right over here, oh boy, we got a brand new trailer that really shook the animation community. And I think the best way to put it is that this trailer pretty much showed us the brand new version of Surf's Up 2 Wave Mania. And the reason why I'm comparing it to that film is because we are getting a crossover that basically nobody asked for. Like, these are two things that you never think about mixing together, and yet here we are in a position where now it exists. Where with Surf's Up 2, you actually got a rather obscure Sony Pictures animation film mixing it with WWE wrestlers. And now right over here, we got Warner Brothers, who thought it would be a crazy idea to mix Tom and Jerry and Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Yes, we actually got a brand new direct-to-video feature film known as Tom and Jerry, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. So, you might be wondering, what is this movie about? What is it that makes it so different that now you add in Tom and Jerry onto the world of Willy Wonka? Well, I'll tell you what it is. So, they showed us this 80-second trailer, and the best way to put it is that what it's presenting us is basically if you take the 1971 classic feature and you decided that in between scenes, you would cram in as much Tom and Jerry cartoons as possible. So you would pretty much get the same movie as you did with Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, but in between those moments, you suddenly have Tom and Jerry. And add that into the mix where you also have like this really laughably bad animation, which I will get to a little bit later. But yeah, that's basically what you get overall. Tom and Jerry, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. The #1 film that people are anticipating so much that when they see the trailer, they just immediately got out of their bed and they started singing, "I never thought that I would be over the moon with ecstasy, but suddenly I began to see a bit of good luck for me." Oh my god, where the fridge do I even begin with this? I looked at this trailer, and oh god, it is so bad. It is, like I said before, it really is laughably bad because it's just showing us the same things that we have already seen before. But the one thing that really did trigger so many people, like really badly, is the fact that it started out by saying, "Get ready for an all-new original movie." Okay. Hold the phone right there. Now, what the fridge is in this that would be considered original? Because from what I could see, there is literally nothing, absolutely nothing that is original. You got Tom and Jerry, which are characters that already existed before. You did not create that. They've already lived for more than half a century. You got the story of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, which is not your story. This is a pre-existing tale that's written by Roald Dahl. And even the execution on that story, like everything from the production design to the way that the story is told, and even the musical numbers, they're already lifted directly from the 1971 film. And I guess some people can argue, well, there is that little Oompa Loompa mouse, which, by the way, yes, in the trailer, they introduced us to this talking mouse that dressed up like an Oompa Loompa that's supposed to be the tour guide for Tom and Jerry around the Chocolate Factory, like what Willy Wonka is doing to the kids. And that's pretty much his role. But even at that mouse wouldn't even be considered original. And that's pretty much it. The only thing that it did that's really original is if you would take two pre-existing properties that have absolutely zero in common and just try to mix it in together. In fact, this entire story right here, it feels like something that Warner Brothers just took directly off of DeviantArt and just decided to turn that into a movie. In fact, it actually sounds like one of those like big crossovers that kids would go and write that would include so many different properties and characters onto this one story. Like, you would just see this preteen just writing on the internet going,
"And then Tom and Jerry would enter into Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, and then he's accompanied by the kids who got the golden ticket, which consists of Charlie Bucket, and Eddie, and SpongeBob SquarePants. But then the evil Gargamel and his assistant LeFou are also sneaking in order to conquer the Chocolate Factory. But now it's gonna be up to Willy Wonka, who turns out to be my OC anthropomorphic lion Jonathan, and his crew of Oompa Loompas, which are actually minions, to go and save the day."
Oh my god, that's what it basically is. It's a stupid fanfic that a kid thought up and just go and integrate that into a movie for some reason. A movie that nobody asked for. And then you also have the animation. Oh my god, the animation that we see in this trailer, it is bad. It is so laughably bad. In fact, you look at this, and I can definitely tell you right now, this does not even seem passable as television animation. It really is that low of a quality. In fact, the one thing that really did stand out in this entire scene, or like in this entire trailer, is when you see Charlie opening up the Wonka bar, revealing the golden ticket, because the facial expressions on that kid is some of the worst drawings that you'll ever find in terms of facial expressions. Like, his eyes are going freaking all over the place. They are not focused into one freaking area. And it just looked like Charlie, like, all the brain cells in Charlie's head decided to go on a vacation, just escape his brain. And, like, he's just opening up the golden ticket. He's just there, like, like, oh my god, it looked really bad. And, like, even a lot of the animation in this, it's just a frickin' joke. Like, I don't necessarily mind the character design. Like, I get what they're trying to do. They're basically taking a lot of what we've got from the 1971 film and adapt that into a 1940 style cartoon. Like, I get the idea. The concept of it is not too bad, but the execution of it is what makes it absolutely embarrassing. However, there is one thing I would like to note, though, is that on Cartoon Brew, when they discussed a little bit about Tom and Jerry, Willy Wonka, and the Chocolate Factory, they did actually put up a second trailer to this film. And what it basically is that it shows us the first 2 minutes where we see the introduction of Tom and Jerry onto the story of Willy Wonka, where they're just hungry. And mostly what you see is just the same old shtick that you would find in any other cartoon. It's not really that funny, to be honest. But admittedly, from what I saw in that trailer, the animation is far superior than what you would get in the trailer that we've all seen from movie clips. The one that shows, like, the whole Chocolate Factory, and the one that acts more like a trailer, more so than just a clip. But basically what I'm getting from both of these, it actually feels like the animation on Tom and Jerry could actually be just decent, but the human characters might be a joke. Like, they're not even gonna give a freaking crap about it. So that could be the impression, is that you'll get some decent animation, but you'll also get a bit of laughably bad animation at the same time. So with that said, though, I'm sure there was actually one big question that a lot of you guys are probably wondering. Why? Why does this thing have to exist? How did we end up in a situation where now we ended up with a direct-to-video feature that is legitimately called Tom and Jerry, Willy Wonka, and the Chocolate Factory? That's literally just Tom and Jerry shoehorning into the story of the 1971 film. Well, I've actually done a bit of research on this, and upon my discoveries, it's actually quite interesting, honestly, because there is a bit of a transition to how we ended up here. All right, now just listen up. Here's the thing. Now, when it comes to Tom and Jerry and their direct-to-video feature films, there is actually a lot of them. Not as much as what Warner Brothers would do with Scooby-Doo, but they do actually have a good chunk that could almost be in the same numbers as there are Land Before Time sequels. And starting with the 2010s, there seems to be this new thing that Warner Brothers decided to do, or at least later on in more recent years, Warner Brothers decided that they want to mix Tom and Jerry with pre-existing stories. So make Tom and Jerry adaptations, if you will. And that is how we ended up with movies such as Tom and Jerry meets Sherlock Holmes, Tom and Jerry A Nutcracker Tale, or Tom and Jerry Robin Hood and His Merry Mouse. So they're basically taking pre-existing stories, but trying to integrate Tom and Jerry onto it. In fact, there's also another one called Tom and Jerry's Giant Adventure, where it's almost like a Shrek type of, or not just Shrek, but also like kind of a Shrek hoodwink type of story, where it's just Tom and Jerry in a whole giant mixed match of random fairy tales. But then came 2011, where there is this one movie that they decided to do another adaptation, but it didn't necessarily came out as an adaptation, but a bit more as a crossover. And that is Tom and Jerry and the Wizard of Oz. Now, the reason why I say that it is a little bit more of a crossover is mainly because is that they didn't necessarily explain their own spin on the Wizard of Oz story. This isn't their own crafted Wizard of Oz tale. This is a little bit not a little bit, actually. This is taking a lot of inspiration from the 1939 classic film. And when you see like the entire production design and the entire look of the film, you could definitely tell that it took a lot of inspirations from that movie. In fact, even looking at the characters alone, you would see that Dorothy is actually modeled after Judy Garland. And even her friends like the Scarecrow, the Tin Man, and the Lion, they actually look more like the actors that are portrayed in the 1935 film than actually looking like a legit Scarecrow or Tin Man or Lion. So that's why it is a bit more of a crossover. And this idea of a crossover kind of stuck a little bit because later on recently, they actually did release a movie called Tom and Jerry Spy Quest, where this one is actually more of a legitimate crossover where it's Tom and Jerry with Johnny Quest. Now, admittedly, this is actually more of a crossover that makes a lot more sense than Tom and Jerry and Willy Wonka, considering that we have two different hanna-barbera properties working together. So at least that would make sense right there. But apparently, it seems like this Wizard of Oz film got really popular down to the point that in 2016, they actually did a sequel to that film. This is the first time that Tom and Jerry would actually have a sequel to one of their direct-to-DVD films with Tom and Jerry Back to Oz, where the new thing that they incorporated was that they have Jason Alexander as the Gnome King. And I guess what pretty much happened now is that this Tom and Jerry and the Wizard of Oz movie must have been really popular. Like, the DVD sales on that must have gone through the roof, where they want to go and explore that kind of movie, where they want to do more stuff with putting Tom and Jerry onto pre-existing movies. Not necessarily making their own adaptation, but making a feature film that we've already seen before, which now in this case is Willy Wonka. Now, are we going to see more of that in the future? It could be a possibility. This might not be the last, but yeah, that would be my theory, at least, to how we ended up with Tom and Jerry, Willy Wonka, and the Chocolate Factory. If anything, it would most likely be because of Tom and Jerry and the Wizard of Oz. Now, if I have to think up of a second explanation onto why is it that we have this, I would probably say drugs. Like, that's my only thing I could say, is just there must have been some executives who decided to go and reenact some scenes from Wolf of Wall Street, and one of them decided to go and put on the TV and they saw Willy Wonka the Chocolate Factory. They looked at it and they just said, I got an idea! You see that thing on the screen? Yeah, that thing. Yeah, that's Willy Wonka, right? I got an idea. Why don't we make an animated film on that? But what we're gonna do, we're gonna put in Tom and Jerry. We're gonna put in a lot of Tom and Jerry on there. Tom and Jerry here, Tom and Jerry there. We're gonna put in so much Tom and Jerry on that thing. So we're gonna have Tom and Jerry and Willy Wonka at the same time. And since this is a cartoon, we can do whatever the hell we want with it. We can even bring people back from the dead like Grandpa Joe and Gene Wilder. It's gonna be a blast. We're gonna get so much money onto this. By the way, John, can you look on the right? Just watch out for that leprechaun on there. The one that's only wearing a jockstrap. So that's pretty much what's basically going on. But overall, now we are in a situation where we end up with an actual Tom and Jerry with Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. And basically, the reaction that people are having on it, yeah, people are basically hating it. They're giving it a taste of the Emoji Movie treatment, where people are pretty much hating it, and they're punishing this movie for its mere existence and how stupid of an idea that it is, and they are 99.9% sure that it's going to come out as a terrible movie. So yeah, not necessarily getting as much hate as the Emoji Movie, considering that this is just a direct-to-DVD movie, and those things can be easily ignored. But yeah, like, just hearing the idea that there's going to be a Tom and Jerry Willy Wonka movie, it is absolutely stupid. And if you guys are like so curious to the point of wondering if you want to see this movie come out, well, they didn't have an official release date. I heard that it could be out in the summer, but all we know is that if you're ready to go on a sugar high with frickin' Tom and Jerry, then you'll have to wait this year to have it on DVD and maybe Blu-ray, or I have no freaking idea. My God, seriously, Warner Brothers, what the fridge are you even thinking?